Young apprentice, how kind of you to finally show up, and only 2 hours late. Now, I don't need to hear your excuse, but do try to be punctual in the future, or I may have to turn you away. Remember, I refuse to coddle. Now, take a seat, and we will begin your lesson. Last week, we discussed where the power of sorcery comes from. What is it? I see you have your hand up. You've forgotten your parchment. Honestly. Here, you may use this. You've remembered to bring a writing instrument and ink, haven't you? Well then, at least you've got one thing right. Now, as I was saying, last time we discussed where sorcerers draw their power. So, let us see if you were paying attention. What material do sorcerers use to channel power? Glintstone, yes. And where does glintstone come from? From the cosmos. Very good. Now, what gives glintstone its power? Give you a hint? No. You must stand on your own 2 feet, young apprentice. Do you not know the answer? That is disappointing. Be sure to write it down this time. Glintstone is the amber of the cosmos, the vitality of the stars. The power of glintstone sorcery channels this life essence. Yes? So you've witnessed different forms of sorcery. Indeed, there are many schools of sorcery, some more respectable than others. The scholars of Lazuli Conspectus, for instance, study that toothless carrion sorcery and hold the heretical belief that the moon is equal to the stars. It was their kind that caused my expulsion from the academy. Those heretics deigned to call me an apostate witch. Now, let us commence today's lesson. Today, you will learn about primeval sorcery, the foundation of all glintstone sorcery. I will demonstrate some of the sorcery we will discuss, but I do not expect you to be able to cast them yet. You are still but a tadpole when it comes to sorcery. First, we will look at the oldest known sorcery, founding Reign of Stars. It is named aptly, since it is known as the founding of glintstone sorcery. It was discovered by an ancient astrologer who glimpsed the primeval current, and what he saw became real. The astrologer was able to channel a dark cloud of stars, which released a violent deluge of star rain, and the stars' amber rained down upon this land. I will demonstrate it for you now. Observe closely, apprentice. There, it is glorious, is it not? Can you imagine the awe with which the astrologer would have looked upon this rain of stars, having never known such a thing was possible? Yes, you have a question? You wish to know what the primeval current is? It is what one might call the void or the abyss, and it is believed to be the birthplace of stars. Only a handful of sorcerers have ever seen it. The astrologer who we just discussed, Master Azur, and Master Lissat, who I will come to in a moment, and the errant sorcerer Wilhelm. Wilhelm was a nomadic sorcerer, part of a group who left the academy to travel throughout the lands between, seeking knowledge. He was a natural scholar, even going so far as to make contact with the primeval current, a feat only the most prestigious sorcerers have succeeded at. You are taking note of this, aren't you? Yes, of course I expect you to remember this. Good then. Now, Wilhelm was also one of the first tarnished to arrive at Round Table Halt, along with his friend Vargrim. No, Vargrim was not a sorcerer. He was a man who aspired to become an Empyrean. The two were eventually led by guidance into conflict with one another, and Wilhelm was imprisoned in Round Table Hold. That is as much of his story as is known. Whether or not he was able to devise any primeval sorcery is yet to be discovered. Master Azur and Master Lissat, however, were able to devise sorceries from what they saw. They were both Grand Masters at the Academy of Rea Lucaria, a prestigious rank that no other sorcerer has yet reached. I studied under Master Azur when I was still a young pupil such as yourself. He was a stern professor. There was no faffing about when he was lecturing. There was no other professor that could silence a room like Master Azur. He wore a crown of green glintstone, which fused with his body, allowing him to become ever more inorganic, ever closer to the stars. Of course, those carrion fools drove him out of the academy. Sorcerers like Azure, unbound by the terrestrial taboos, were greatly feared by the carrion royal family. Anyways, Master Azure devised a most powerful sorcery after he glimpsed into the primeval current and saw darkness within. Today we call this sorcery Comet Azure. Let me demonstrate to you its power. This tremendous comet is channeled from the cosmos and contains the life force of the stars. It can cause immense destruction when wielded by a powerful hand. As I mentioned, there was another Grand Master at the Academy, Master Lissat. He also wore a crown of glintstone, a deep blue jewel through which he channeled his power. He too glimpsed into the primeval current, and there he beheld the final moments of a great star cluster. From this experience, he was able to devise another very powerful sorcery, Stars of Ruin. I will demonstrate it now, so do take note, young apprentice. It channels 12 dark shooting stars that will seek their target as if being pulled into planetary orbit. Now, do you have any final questions before we end your lesson? What's that? A graven witch? Wherever did you hear such a term? Ah, Jaren, that detestable man. What else did he have to say about me? He claims I am the most dangerous sorcerer that has ever been at Lucaria. From his perspective, I suppose that is so. He is a faithful dog to the Carian royal family. Those who view the moon as equal to the stars are nothing but apostates. I see. You say he told you countless sorcerers fell to my hand. And does that concern you, my apprentice? Very well, if you must know, I intend that we, the fallen children of the stars, shall beam with brilliance once again. I have gathered the bodies of sorcerers to create a graven mass, to seed a new star, and once I return to the academy and cast out the Carian Queen, I will finally achieve that goal. There are many things you do not yet understand, my apprentice, and teacher and student are not bound to travel the same path. But if you wish to aid me in restoring the primeval current at Lucaria, perhaps it is a journey we could undertake together. Ah, then I am truly pleased to have you as an apprentice and a kindred spirit. Now, go off and practice what I've taught you. I expect that by the next lesson, you should at least be able to cast Stars of Ruin. Farewell, my apprentice.